Imagine being trapped inside a statue. Your mind can travel to the ends of the universe, but your body can't move a finger. That was the reality of Stephen Hawking, the man who taught us how the cosmos works while being confined to a wheelchair. It all started in Oxford. At 21, Hawking was a brilliant but awkward young man. He began to stumble. His speech became slurred. The medical diagnosis was a death sentence: amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. The doctors gave him 2 years to live. He was only 21 years old. The disease would paralyze all of his muscles, one by one, until he stopped breathing. But his brain would remain intact. Hawking fell into a deep depression, listening to Wagner and drinking, waiting for the end. But the end did not come. The disease progressed, but stopped before it could kill him. These 2 years turned into 5 decades. Hawking decided that if he was going to die, he would do something valuable first. He married Jane Wilde, the love that gave him a reason to live, and turned his attention to the greatest mystery of physics: time and the beginning of everything. In the 1960s, the Big Bang was still a debated theory. Along with Roger Penrose, Hawking used complex mathematics to prove that the universe did indeed have a beginning. He demonstrated that time had a start, a singularity, a point of infinite density where the laws of physics break down. His obsession became black holes, gravitational monsters from which nothing escapes. Hawking began to apply quantum theory to these giants, and what he discovered shocked the scientific world and changed physics forever. Until then, it was believed that black holes were eternal and only swallowed things. Hawking discovered that they leak. They emit radiation. They shine faintly. This discovery, named Hawking radiation, proved that black holes can evaporate and disappear over time. It was a revolution. He united Einstein's general relativity with quantum mechanics. Before Hawking, these two theories did not communicate. He forced them to hold hands at the edge of an abyss. While his mind soared, his body failed. In the 1970s, he could no longer walk or feed himself. His speech was almost unintelligible, understood only by close family members. But his fame in the scientific community was growing exponentially. In 1974, at the age of 32, he became one of the youngest members of the Royal Society, the elite of British science. The chair he would occupy at Cambridge was the same as Isaac Newton's. The man who could not hold a piece of chalk was rewriting the laws of gravity. But in 1985, tragedy struck again. During a visit to CERN in Switzerland, Hawking contracted a severe pneumonia. The doctor suggested turning off the machines and letting him die. Jane, his wife, refused. The only way to save him was a tracheostomy. The operation saved his life, but it cut his vocal cords. Stephen Hawking became completely mute. The man with the most important ideas in the world had no way to communicate them. For a while, he communicated only by raising his eyebrows when someone pointed to letters on a card. It was an agonizing and slow process. It seemed like the universe was trying to silence him once and for all. And thus the voice was born. That robotic voice with an American accent which would become the most famous on the planet. Hawking could have chosen a more human voice later, but he refused. That synthetic voice had become his identity. With his new voice, he decided to write a book. Not for scientists, but for ordinary people. He wanted to pay the family's bills and explain the universe to his grandmother. He wrote A Brief History of Time. The editors said it would be a failure. No one wanted to read about physics. They were wrong. The book stayed on the Sunday Times bestseller list for 237 weeks, a world record. It sold 10 million copies. Suddenly, the physicist in the wheelchair was a pop icon. He appeared in Star Trek, The Simpsons, and The Big Bang Theory. He became the symbol of pure intelligence. But Hawking didn't stop there. He used his fame to warn humanity about its own dangers. He was afraid that our intelligence, the same one that saved him, could destroy us. In 2007, an image traveled the world. A quadriplegic man, floating free from his wheelchair, with a smile of pure joy. At 65 years old, Stephen Hawking experienced zero gravity on a NASA flight. For a few seconds, he was no longer a prisoner of his body. He said, "Space, here I come." Hawking was not just a genius. He was funny. He loved his fame. He played poker with Isaac Newton and Einstein on Star Trek. He voiced himself on The Simpsons. He understood that for science to survive, it needed to be part of pop culture. He loved to make scientific bets, and often lost. He bet that the Higgs boson would never be found, and lost $100. He organized a party for time travelers, but only sent out the invitations after the party was over. No one showed up, proving, according to him, that time travel is not possible. Scientifically, he remained bold. He proposed the theory of the universe without borders. Along with James Hartle, he suggested that the universe is like the surface of the Earth, finite, but without edges. You can walk forever without falling. This eliminated the need for a singular moment of creation. This put him in conflict with religion. If the universe has no beginning or end in time, where is the place for a creator? Hawking became increasingly clear about his atheism. He said, "It is not necessary to invoke God to light the fuse and set the universe in motion." Even so, he was a member of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences of the Vatican. He debated with popes, arguing that science explains the how and religion tries to explain the why. But for Hawking, physics was enough to explain everything. His personal life was complex. Fame destroyed his first marriage. Jane, who took care of him for 25 years, felt pushed aside by the circus surrounding her husband. He married his nurse, Elaine Mason, in a controversial union that estranged his children for years. The genius was not a saint. In recent years, he became a world-end oracle. Hawking severely warned against contact with extraterrestrials. He said that if aliens visited us, the outcome would be like Columbus arriving in America. It didn't end well for the Native Americans. His greatest fear, however, was artificial intelligence. He warned that AI could be the worst event in the history of our civilization. He feared that superintelligent machines would surpass us and see us as ants. He was not against technology, but demanded absolute caution. He also talked about the climate. Hawking warned that Earth could become like Venus, with sulfuric acid rains, if we did not control the greenhouse effect. He was a short-term pessimist, but a long-term optimist. Your solution? Get out of here. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, he used to say. Hawking advocated for the colonization of the Moon and Mars as a life insurance policy for the human species. He knew that an asteroid or a virus could wipe us out if we remained stuck on a single planet. He supported the Breakthrough Starshot project, an idea to send tiny laser-powered spacecraft to Alpha Centauri, our neighboring star. Even paralyzed, he was planning humanity's first interstellar journey. The medicine said he would die in his 60s. He lived to see the new millennium, the internet, the discovery of gravitational waves. He challenged biology with the same stubbornness with which he challenged physics. Stephen Hawking died on March 14, 2018. He was 76 years old. He died on Pi Day, 3/14, which is also Albert Einstein's birthday. Even in death, he demonstrated impeccable cosmic timing. His ashes were not buried in a common cemetery. They were placed in Westminster Abbey in London. He literally rests between Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin, the pantheon of the greatest scientists in history. On the day of his funeral, the European Space Agency sent a radio signal into space. A recording of Hawking's voice, accompanied by music from Vangelis, was transmitted toward a black hole 3,500 light-years away. His voice is now traveling through the cosmos. But what did he really leave us? It wasn't just Hawking radiation, it was the example, the proof that no matter how broken life seems, while there is life, there is hope. He showed that the human mind has no limits, that we are capable of understanding the deep gears of reality, even if we are confined to a wheelchair on an island in the North Atlantic. On Stephen Hawking's gravestone, there is no religious epitaph. There is an equation, the formula for Bekenstein-Hawking entropy. It is the mathematical recipe for how black holes die. He wanted to be remembered for what he discovered, not for what he suffered. His last message to humanity, published posthumously, was simple and powerful. Be curious. He said, remember to look at the stars and not at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see. Hawking was also a fierce advocate for the public health system. He said, I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the NHS. He knew that his genius could only flourish because society took care of his body. He reminded the world that science and social compassion must go hand in hand. For the disability community, he was a superhero. He refused to be defined by his limitations. He proved that a person with severe disabilities can not only participate in society, but also lead it intellectually. He changed the global perception. Your warnings about AI continue to echo. Today, with the emergence of models like GPT, Hawking's words seem prophetic. He didn't want to stop progress, but he wanted us to have our hand on the brake. The success in creating AI would be the greatest event in human history. Unfortunately, it could also be the last. He left us with a sense of urgency. We are running out of space, and the only places to go are other worlds. Hawking at humanity like a child who has outgrown the cradle. We need to leave home to survive. In physics, the information paradox that he raised still keeps scientists awake at night. If a black hole evaporates, where does the information of what fell into it go? This simple question could be the key to the next big theory, the theory of everything. He did not find the theory of everything in his lifetime. He left this task for the next generation, for you who are watching. Hawking knew that science is a relay race, where we pass the baton of knowledge forward. Stephen Hawking was, above all, a liberator. He freed black holes from eternal darkness. He freed the human mind from the chains of deficiency. And he freed the universe from dogmas, surrendering it to reason. In Cambridge, the ramp he used to enter the mathematics department is still there. It is a silent monument. There the mind passed daily, traveling farther than any astronaut has ever been. He once said, no matter how difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. The important thing is that you don't give up. That is the final lesson. We are just an advanced race of monkeys on a planet smaller than a very common star. But we can understand the universe. That makes us very special. The robotic voice fell silent, but the radio waves with its message continued traveling through the vacuum, bringing human hope to the cold darkness. The universe is vast, and there is so much more to explore. Subscribe to the channel to continue this scientific journey with us. Thank you, Professor Hawking. Safe travels through the stars.